me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What people do in no money, what they at you in no at you. Could be money missing way in the year look at you. Use the youth the money waste and bust a man to statue. Say me like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take this spit of money, girl, and say that is not you. One day the man above end up, him a got up. Too much it in the kitchen, some a fly by like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me
300% free.
It burn me
garbage pile up the day.
It burn me
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me
I see corruption peace.
It burn me
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
Come me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The 100 the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in our fever. Member bowl honey and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like thief when them sell.
It burn me
Or they treat the market man.
It burn me
Or them a treat the cat man.
It burn me
Or they treat the peanut man.
It burn me
Or them a treat the dirt man.
It burn me
Or them a treat the son man.
It burn me
Or them a treat policeman.
It burn me
How them a treat soldier man.
It burn me
How them a treat everyone.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime.
Stibby dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no cape. And some informer friend we love lake. We in Global. Bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global. We not promote them. We not support them. Look at them on the cheek come here represent for. We in Global TV. Check it.
If you are on the Eastern timeline, good morning from the West Midlands. If you are in the United Kingdom, good afternoon from the West Midlands. Thank you all for joining us this morning on the At a Glance program, The Honorary Criminals. Doctor Who, Dr. Me, Dr. Dem, Dr. Honorary. Create me a doctorate, please. Dr. Lippy, even Dr. Oxymoron will do. Create me a doctorate. Because I don't have nothing to do with it. You can't just walk and fling them and flash them. Create me a doctorate. Dr. Oxymoron or Dr. Lippy. And I can't just... But people must stop calling these things degree, their honorary award. In and off. In and off means two different things. Doctor in and doctor off is two different things. Create me a doctorate. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Natalia Freeman. Good morning. Beat and Teach, good morning. Yvonne Johnson. Pamela Acola, American TV Doctor. Dr. No, American TV Doctor. Dr. No. And Annie Jones. Plain Truth. Kamar Johnson. Beat and Teach, Wagwan. Patricia Matthews, how are you? Sunshine. Somebody create me a doctorate, please. I'm desperate to be a doctor. Beyond Johnson. I am so desperate to be a doctor. That doctorate may just be the thing that will wash away my political sins. David Jervis, how are you? Good afternoon, good morning. Create me a doctorate. Gloria Morris. Norman Ferguson. Who else is here? Jim Ashley, how are you? Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Miranda Radha, JP, Angela Messenden, Michelle Clark. Marcia SP. Good morning. Good morning. All. Jason King. Good morning. Violet Watson, Joan Bailey, Marcia Stewart, JC, Sonia Barrett. Good morning, all, and welcome. Vernon Mitchell, Pamela Cola, good morning, good morning. True Love, good morning. Abinu Sakodi, good morning. RJ, good morning. Good morning, all, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. No Desperate Fair Degree, Georgia Dennis, Rosemary Samuel. No desperate like me to be called Dr. Oxymoron. Dr. Anything will do. JP Wagwan. Dr. Anything will do at this point. Donovan Blake, how are you? Dr. Anything will do. Because we don't have no use for them anymore. Before me waddling to the doctor this and the doctor them and the doctor all away. Prime Minister, you have not gone far enough. Let's listen to the Prime Minister's reassessment of the chaotic and violent prone behavior in our schools across the country.
Of schools. So that way we can get a better understanding of the
Hold on, please.
doors.
Why is this thing behaving like this?
Change in the behavior of our youth. I have directed the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Education to do a reassessment of the security risk of schools. So that way we can get a better understanding of which schools are at risk and how to direct resources to those schools. We have already started to increase the number of case managers that would be available for community intervention and school interventions through the Ministry of National Security. We're going to increase the number of school resource officers, and the school resource officer program has been very effective, but from time to time, depending on the intensity of implementation, sometimes schools get resource officers and sometimes they don't. What we're going to seek to do now, after the conduct of this new assessment of the school, is to increase the numbers and then redirect some of these officers to those schools with the highest risk. But immediately, we have discussed with the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Education that all schools must review their entry policy, they must review their search policy, and in particular, they must now seek to put in place measures to detect and seize weapons in schools, particularly knives and other implements that can be used to cause damage. So that directive will go out through the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of National Security shortly. Schools must increase the level of searches to detect these weapons that are being brought into the school compound.
Half-hearted approach, not too far enough. Placing limitations, Prime Minister, on solutions. When I ask you, Prime Minister, come here, it's a long time, I've asked for a much broader coalition, Prime Minister, a much broader interventionist team, Prime Minister Janet Riley. Ministry of Health, Minister, you just limited to Ministry of Education and Ministry of National Security. No, we need a much broader, multi-systemic intervention team, Prime Minister. Multi-systemic, different angles and organization, Prime Minister, if you would understand that. How would Ministry of Health fit into this reassessment? There's a mindset problem to deal with here. There's a psychology problem here. There is a behavioral problem here. So, of course, Prime Minister Yvonne Riley, there is a need to bring in Ministry of Health into this reassessment and intervention. The child protection agencies, Prime Minister, EM, community team, Prime Minister, such as civil community teams, JC, Wagwan, the offering collecting churches, whatever community group, parent group can be brought in, Prime Minister, to look at solution, Brenda Elson. So this, for me, is quite a lame, JB, half-hearted approach. Limit solution in this massive developing problem in our education system and by our children. The searching for weapon, I do agree with that part of it, but that alone is not enough. There isn't enough of our different areas of government agencies that have to deal with children that is involved in this reassessment, Prime Minister Tony Tor. It must be a much broader scope, Noreen quotes. Quotes Noreen. It must be a much broader scope of intervention in order to look at holistic, Prime Minister, not one party stick, holistic solution. Holistic solution, nifty friend. Even though agree with a method of searching to get rid of these violent weapons that are coming into the school system, you cannot limit it to that, Prime Minister. I will explain to you why you cannot, Lorraine Taylor. In Britain, that knife problem exists in the school system as well. What the school did not just do is implement the search methods in school or metal detectors or whatever to detect such. But what they do, children would start doing now, is hide them knife on road before them enter school. What the man, the police commander for that those local authority would do is to have police within that troubled school region when school break up in the evening. You will have police at the school gate, at several surrounding bus stops where these children would congregate or altercation would most likely Elder Fletcher to go down. So that's why, Prime Minister, you cannot limit the approach you're taking Vernon Adams to solution. You need more minds on board. You need a broader coalition. What has it with Uno? Everything is what suits Uno and what the public thinks, what civil society thinks, what people outside of Andrew Holness mindset thinks doesn't really work, because it's a wrong and strong approach to everything, or an one-upmanship approach to everything. Real black woman, how are you? But the move, Prime Minister, is a half-hearted approach. There's a need to have a much broader coalition if you want to really have meaningful solution and meaningful intervention in the escalating violence in our schools.
The Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Education to do a reassessment of the security risk of schools. So that way, we can get a better understanding of which schools are at risk and how to direct resources to those schools. We have already started to increase the number of case managers that would be available for community intervention and school interventions through the Ministry of National Security. We're going to increase the number of school resource officers, and the school resource officer program has been very effective, but from time to time, depending on the intensity of implementation, sometimes schools get resource officers and sometimes they don't. What we're going to seek to do now, after the conduct of this new assessment of the school, is to increase the numbers and then redirect some of these officers to those schools with the highest risk. But immediately, we have discussed with the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Education that all schools must review their entry policy, they must review their search policy, and in particular, they must now seek to put in place measures to detect and seize weapons in schools, particularly knives and other implements that can be used to cause damage. So that directive will go out through the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of National Security shortly. Schools must increase the level of searches to detect these weapons that are being brought into the school compound.
Michelle Lewis Wilson, good morning. That, for me, Prime Minister, is a half-hearted approach, not gone too far enough, Marcia Thomas. Not gone too far enough. As I've suggested from day one with a lot of these topics, a much broader, multi-systemic team is needed, not just Ministry of Education and Ministry of National Security, but Ministry of Health also, child protection agencies, community intervention team, civil society, parent group. It needs a much broader. This is not just an in the school situation. There's intervention also needed within the homes and the communities. That's why it needs a holistic, multi-systemic approach, not a limitation on and what you call the word? Not a limitation on solutions as the taken approach by the Prime Minister in limiting the reassessment to the security risk in our school to the Ministry of Education and Ministry of National Security. I personally don't think that is enough. There is much further and much wider to do. Listen to the Prime Minister on the Constitutional Reform Review Committee.
I'm not surprised that they would have tried to find every way out of the response of the opposition. Is that I am disappointed, but I am not surprised. I'm not surprised that they would have tried to find every way out of seeing this process through to its rightful conclusion. I would like to say to the Jamaican people that the efforts that the government has made is not in vain, that we will continue to pursue consensus, because the truth is that you cannot disturb the constitutional and governance architecture of the country without consensus. That is the reality. And consensus takes time, and it takes effort. So I speak to you today as Prime Minister of the country, not as leader of a political party seeking power, but as someone who's genuinely interested in the advance of our country. And so I want to assure Jamaicans that the process continues. We are in a certain season described by others as silly. I tend to sometimes agree. But we will get over it, and Jamaica will evolve into its rightful form, constitutionally, governance, in terms of our economic independence, and socially.
Socially, economically, constitutional, Republican independence, Millicent Jones. What about justice, though, Andrew Holness? Why did you stop short, Prime Minister, of justice, using the word justice? Was that deliberate? Because one of your attempts, Prime Minister, one of your attempts is to still remain in the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. Silly, Andrew Holness said. He would agree to some who said we're in a silly moment. On whose part, though, Prime Minister? One would want to know on whose part that silliness rather resides. The question is for the Prime Minister, will you sit down with the different communities, the Rastafarian communities, the indigenous community, the diaspora community, and by extension, Joan Bailey, the people of Jamaica? Joan Bailey, me not respond to that. You don't notice me deaf just like them to the interest in a Jamaica? Me don't know why you hear the part there, no Joan Bailey, because he said, me deaf. Means when it comes to the interest, a genuine or whatever Indian said, no system never hear what I say. Told it all out there. You lucky you hear that part there. Come here, play deaf to it. Me, nah, listen to that part there. The question, though, is now that you're admitting that you cannot rip up what we have without a wider consensus of everybody and their generation that will be affected by your hastily move. The question then now, Prime Minister, how do we move forward on consensus? Will you make a U-turn on the one-upmanship, or are you a Prime Minister not for turning like Margaret Thatcher? Are you a Prime Minister not for turning? Or will you do a complete U-turn? Have meaningful dialogue with the Rastafarian community. Meaningful dialogue, Prime Minister, about the sovereign land of the Maroons. Meaningful dialogue, Prime Minister, with the diaspora at large, not along the Terry Long come around telling us. If that is not transformation, I don't know what is. Meaningful dialogue where our interests is given acknowledgement and place in the new constitution. Land reform, Prime Minister. Impeachment bill, Prime Minister. Presidential term limit, Prime Minister. Executive presidency, Prime Minister. These are a lot of things that a lot of us want to talk about, what a lot of us want to see in our Republic Constitution. Membership, Prime Minister, of the Caribbean Court of Justice. A total, Prime Minister, separation of power in our Republic, if we're to have one. No overlapping with the executive and the legislature. It's a breeding ground, rebel with a cause. It is a breeding ground, Ladybug. And when I say breeding ground, where you have in the Westminster system the lapover of the executive and the legislature, it is a breeding ground for corruption. Unlike in the American system, the people who get elected to the American executive board, such as your Secretary of What's It Another and your Secretary of What's Iran's, those people tend to get elected on experience and track record, not because they're a crony to the president or they're a long established friend or supporter to the president. Whereas in the Westminster system of how the executive is chosen, the executive is chosen on two bases. My friend and my enemy is how cabinet is formed in the Westminster system. The cabinet, the executive system is not formed based on qualification or experience in the Westminster system. It is performed, it is even green, based on who are my greatest ally and who are, Precious Allen, my potential enemies. What I will use to explain that, the Tony Blair Gordon scenario. Tony Blair tricked Gordon Brown into let me lead the charge and go ahead for the Labour Party leadership, bros. and I will only do 10 years. Support me to be the leader, and I would only do 10 years and step down and hand over to you. But Tony Blair became 10 years or two term, I think. Tony Blair became rather greedy and hung on to power. Why Tony Blair had to give Gordon Brown and could not move Gordon Brown the helm of the purse is because when you have that type of person who can take you down, can knife you, then you want to make sure my enemy or my potential enemy is cool, is being given a powerful position. Lenford, Keith, how are you? What you also choose that person that is directly opposed to you and you know will bring you down and will garner rebel support against you. So bringing that person onto the government front bench, it's an automatic silencing because the ministerial code suggests that you cannot brief against or you must not brief against the government if you do not toe the government line. It's an automatic dismissal from your job. So even if you do not agree with the government stance being on the front bench, you must go along with it. So this is how the executive is make up in the Westminster system, my allies and my potential enemies. So a cabinet in the United Kingdom or in Jamaica in that system, it's not really make up from people with experience. Richard Sunak or Andrew Holness will make sure choose the people who will not push back on their agenda. They will also choose those who they want to quiet. Do not lead a rebel charge against me. This is the composition of our cabinet. Hence, you see Andrew Holness put Horace Chang at Minister of National Security because of Horace Chang criminal alignment, rather than putting Horace Chang at Ministry of Health, where, along with his bureaucrats and technocrats, he would be able to understand the healthcare need of Jamaica. Chris Tufton as a market me, good morning to market me. Chris Tufton as a market me scandal would be rather served better in the Ministry of Tourism or Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. If you want that marketing experience, it would better serve there, but not really Prime Minister in the Ministry of Health, Marcia Gale. So this is the composition of the Westminster system executive. It's about my friend. My friend don't have to have any experience. All he has to do is my friend, and then he become a cabinet minister, given a whole department to run. Use that department to swindle illegal ammunition into the country rather than fighting crime. At the head of that department, pulling out bullets out of criminal in your surgery without reporting it. Leonard Steele. So this is why under the new constitutional arrangement, we need a separation of the legislature and the executive, which is where corruption resides. So what we need, Mrs. Dollar Fort Worth, Douglas Allen, is an executive president with his executive team that deals with those departmental issues and or international affairs. Then or legislative council representative and the useless Senate, as I think we should have a elected and not appointed Senate. And this is the other part of the Westminster corruption. Just like how you can walk and beg, buy, skin out, bend over like Vegas for doctorate and recognition and award. You can do the same thing to get in the upper legislative chamber in the Westminster system. All you have to do is be a friend of Boris Johnson. All you have to do is give Boris Johnson like a front, and you will get a lordship. You will get a baronetship or a baronship in this country. And it is the same Westminster system where Andrew Holness can just pick up any other woman who he must sleep with, Miss Morris Dixon, good morning, and put them into the Senate. So our whole legislative process is being compromised with the strength of the executive over it. So if you're interested, Prime Minister, I can advise Ms. Mallahu Watsworth when it comes to how we should proceed on our new governance structure, Kenny Gale. How we can work on a total separation of power when it comes to do with our executive, Lilith Foster, and our legislature. It's a breeding ground for corruption. Me I ask you, me I tell you, when you understand the Westminster system, whether in a Jamaica or in a Britain, the Westminster system is a breeding ground for corruption. It's about repaying my friend and keeping my enemies calm. That's how a cabinet is selected in the Westminster system, whether you're in a Jamaica or you're in a Britain, or you're in Barbados or wherever. So if you have that separation of the executive and the legislature, it's harder for the executive to corrupt our legislative process because they don't have anything to do with it. It's run by a different team who we elect. You understand, my people? So we need to get involved in this constitutional process and make sure that things that will reinforce and strengthen our constitution is entrenched, but not removed and replaced by something weaker and feebler by the Andrew Holness regime in his bid to become president overnight. We don't want a ceremonial president. A ceremonial president will be just like wasting money on a governor general. We need to move away from that. We need an executive president with his cabinet. They are responsible for departmental and international affairs. Mitchell. The legislative board we elect, whether be in the Senate or in the House of Representatives, is responsible for the legislative framework without the involvement of the executive. Thereby, we would have a more separated power and be able to control the corruption that is currently escalating in our governance structure. So if the Prime Minister then realizes that I have to have a much, much, much broader consensus before I can get it how I want it, Prime Minister, it is the time to come and sit down and talk to all of us. There's a lot of us out here in the diaspora and at home, Prime Minister, who have a lot of input and advice that can give to this government in order to upgrade and uplift our country, Christopher. But if it's about taking power, if it's about ostracizing Prime Minister, a section of those of us who live on that soil, those of us who are ancestors bled for that soil, those of us, Prime Minister, that our ancestors fought in and out of chain to make sure that me, Dr. Lippy, can sit down and talk like this today, Prime Minister. We need stronger protection in our Constitution than we see the gun, how protected the gun rights are in the American Constitution. Claudette Robinson, good morning. Doctor who, doctor them, doctor me, doctor Allah, we doctor no, doctor what? Create me a doctorate. Me want turn doctor too. Maybe me just have sins when me want to wash away. Create Nesta a doctorate. Doctorate can wash with political sin. Create Juliet Wholeness a doctorate. Doctor who, doctor me, doctor them, doctor all away. But of the three upcoming awardees, Adam, you can't go on. I really don't have time for you. Miss Lady, fine. Me no know you, and me not go walk and look for you. You may have done something fine, but you're not my target. You understand? So don't think me a trouble you. Adam, me go get to you, but not about the Honorary. Because there's no need to change the name of it. So me Honorary. Dr. Buglai. How do I start? Dr. Criminal, Dr. Mash it up, Dr. Chop it up, Dr. Broke down the raft, Dr. Tell the lie about the raft, Dr. Sell out this, Dr. Tell lie, Dr. White man call him out, feel lie them were there. How must I present? Doctor, can an honorary award wash away political sins is the question. Can an honorary award, because them call them degree. I don't call them degree, they're an award. Degree in what? In and off. Ed Bartlett will just mash up the people them sitting and say Kevin Fairclough. Ed Bartlett. Hey, doctor down there. Doctor, no Kevin. Dr. Wheat down there. Our doctor want to learn from Joe Grind. And I must give them right title. Dr. Bromwell. Good morning, Dr. Bromwell. Doctor chop up the raft then. Doctor will grudge poor people picnic for the money where they make out of tourism. Dr. Roy and Darrell Vance them match up Blue Lagoon. Poor people not they have nothing out of it. Doctor will say poor people, community tourism, I'm going to reset and mash up. You know here, and I'm make you up. It depends one of my channel, you just go fill up Andre and Delano Stevens one video there. And them sister, and me. Doctor chop up the raft. Doctor mash up Blue Lagoon. Doctor tell lie about tourism. Doctor, where you and your friend them in a water. Doctor, turn off Westmoreland people water to build your friend them big hotel. Doctor. Doctor who? Doctor me. Doctor them. Doctor all away. Doctor good for nothing. Doctor thief. Doctor lie. Can an honorary degree wash over our political sins? Are them institution here where we can give them degree? Whether what's it rather on name? Because some of them university, you know, them a look notoriety. The University of Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. Them just a look notoriety. Edmund Bartlett, as the seminar trouble the rest of one, you know. Edmund Bartlett, I go get honorary degree, doctor in tourism management, and what's it rather meant. So the UCC is saying Ed Bartlett has done an outstanding job. Outstanding. In dismantling community tourism. Is that what you're saying, UCC? Are you awarded Dr. Mash It Up? Dr. Jankro? Dr. Jankro, are you awarded the destruction of poor people's livelihood, UCC? Are you awarded tyranny on the local community by the tourist minister and his criminal advisor and strategy in the Minister of National Security, Delano Seabright? Are you awarded unleash barbarity upon poor people? Picnic. Delano Seabright says, we had that community tourism thing. We have to do a complete reset on the community tourism thing. Because those people in the local tourist community are just making the money and they're not doing anything with it. By extension, Delano Seabright is saying, we can make poor people picking and make money and them not give we a cut out of it. Before so, we are going to kick them to the curb. And then we share it to where we invest in them where we can get to a blurred knot or blurred seed money out of it. Doctor of distraction element, set of evils. Doctor, make it up as you go along. So what is this university awarding? Just like we saw the other day, Delaware State University award lack of integrity. Did they not? Just like we saw the other day, just Delaware State University award corruption. Delaware State University award nepotism. Delaware State University award lack of transparency and lack of accountability in government. What are you awarded? University of Commonwealth Caribbean. What are you awarding? UCC. What are you awarding? When you sell these awards, do you do a research on the recipients? And if you do a research on the recipients, are you so willing to tie your lame and lousy reputation to such public risk? We don't know. Sometimes I think my dunceness give me problem. Dunceness is one of the things that make you ask a lot of questions, probably. Me don't know. Dunceness probably just make you chat. Just a chat. And go along, so. Me don't know. Me don't know need to start chat, just a chat. Like we take a goat shit, so like me. Because maybe when I not talk chat. When I may talk think. And talk act like fool. Well, I'm sorry for them sometimes, but we can't help them. Just when you think you've passed the idiot lane, just when you think you have traveled through the lane of idiosyncrasy, I have come out and plain view. You realize, hey, there's another left turn of idiosyncratics. 34 million will be invested by the agency to various initiatives, including establishing special need education standards, training teachers and principals, and creating inclusive educational space for students across the island. 34 million. Hey. Carlos, you there? Still raise your hand if you're there. 30, Althea Johnson. 34 million across the island. Ministry of Education and Youth is receiving support from the Jamaican Social Investment Fund to strengthen it in the special education sector. How much? Just let us focus on special needs. The Social Investment Fund. Who run the Social Investment Fund, Beat and Teach? But my problem here is the 34 million across the island. That is not even enough for special needs education only across the island. This money is from the Jamaica Social Investment Fund to strengthen capacity in special needs, in special education sector. 34 million. How much million is unaccounted for in federal department, Carlos? How much of that $1.7 trillion unaccounted for between the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, and the Prime Minister's office? The 34 million to serve across the island. And just let's focus on special needs education. Don't even stretch it out to the rest of thing them with them are throwing at the basket, because you know, so when you get a cashier, you have to go take them back out. Yeah? You're going to have to take them back out when you get to the cashier. Let's focus on the main important thing here in the basket. Special needs education. Because special needs education is a woeful thing across the country. 34 million is a spit in the ocean compared to the 1.7 trillion stolen out of public budget. Can this $34 million even maintain this derogatory term you all use as shadows for children with special needs, rather than calling them special needs educators or special needs supporters? We call them this derogatory term, shadow. I don't know what that means anyway. Is this an insult to our children and our education system, particularly our children with special needs who struggle across the country with access to education, which is a human right? Dunce, backwards, joopy, gangster, Ivy League, basic school, Jamal, dunce. 34 million is an insult. 34 million don't even enough for the corporate area, for the schools in the corporate area, Prime Minister, and your thieving Ministry of Education with the thieving Dr. Casantrope. Almighty God, don't make me start this morning. Grace McLean thief 124 million. Royal Reed thief billions. Isn't this an insult? That's why I'm telling you all the while, and I don't think at all me dunce and me fool and me backwards. Me say we should lobby these people to use the money with them thief and run the country. We wouldn't get further. Because when how much Royal Reed thief? I remember me Royal Reed thief. Plus, after Royal Reed thief, remember that we pay Royal Reed half millions for thiefness. Let us lobby these people to use the stolen money to run the country. We would have more money going into our services and our infrastructure. And because we make them use the leftover where they don't want to run the country while we're not going nowhere. We need a U-turn, people. Look how much she alone thief out. How much have we paid Grace McLean since she depart? We paid Grace McLean about half of this year, 34 million. Yeah. And me look on the M, the T as M on the screen. I'm not sure if you know M, the T that I say M. Since Grace McLean upon introduction, we pay Grace McLean almost half of that. Remember, 100 million or 13 billion not accounted for from Clarendon Alumina Partners. See them? Make we use stolen money run the country. We will get further. Me I tell you no, make we think about that seriously. Because where the social investment fund are put in here, so you might as well give to Grace McLean and say, my girl, go create another birthday for your man them who don't want you. Go use the money and buy man, my girl. Because a whole partner don't know, say them something the Grace McLean use on a picnic them new to money, don't mind a man what she know don't want her. Put on lavish birthday for man what she know say don't want her. But because she have government money for buy man, and we still pay Grace McLean in the millions, and you want to come tell me, say, Veteran Wagwan, you want to come tell me, say, 34 million investment as something to celebrate when one on a thief 124 million. So me know so we should bring back Jamal. We fi bring back Jamal in accounting. We fi bring back Jamal. No. Remember, me say we are upgrading him. And see them, we pay Mike Henry for their home and piss up himself as the MP for Central Clarendon. Yeah. We pay for him pampas, we pay for him piss. We pay for clean up him piss. We pay for him Zimmer frame. We pay for him commode. We pay for him wheelchair. We pay for the young boy where they with Miss Henry. I hope I see we pay for whole heap of nonsense. If we go to count up the nonsense, then you see, where we walk on paper, rich on Jamaica, rich than Jamaica, you're not going to find, me I tell you, a whole of nonsense where paper. Just walk and count up on a nonsense fee and see how much nonsense fee outer road sit down. Van Holders. I'll grass them teeth. No, sir. Murdo, have mercy upon the Jamaica Labour Party because those 99 sticky finger, I don't know why God created them with tarp on them finger. That's anything them walk against. Agency driver fight, wagwan. Anything them walk against. All if you bolt down the labor right, them will take it up and move with it. Just bolt it down and see. So listen here, thieving woman. Car back with 1.7 trillion. And then when you can talk about investing in special need education with your insult, that can't even fix ramping at certain schools. Or that can't even put lift access in a certain school. I want to that dunce idiot, yeah, man. So listen here. One time when we hear about million or something where it frightenful and frightening. Only probably now a kiss with teeth at a million. Money in millions don't really frighten me anymore. Because you just have to go in a supermarket and realize, say, if you fit do a good Christmas shopping, like a whole people used to do Christmas shopping in the 80s and 90s, you just realize that 1 million would be plating at the cashier. All of them how much a box and basket ekran system. You used to see your mother car home from Christmas Eve market. Go and go do it now, I dare you. That how much a box and bag and basket. When mama used to car home from Christmas Eve market, I dare you now to go try that what's it around. So that would have shame at the cashier. One would have shame at the cashier. Go and go do the Christmas Eve shopping with few parents them do. Where the picking do have to run out of the yard and lift up a bag or a box or a basket, car back in the yard. Because when mama no buy Christmas Eve, and when mama no see to buy. I dare you all to go and do that now. And see how embarrassed one is at the cashier with the 2 little light bag without nothing in there. And you search yourself to find out how much money you lost. I Silver Williams. You search to find how much money you lost. You check because you can't believe it. The 2 little light bag, We all look left and right. I we in a them, yeah. Margaret Wilson. Left to right. I we in a them, yeah. Because I say, me just spend how much thousand. Left, right, and me don't see anything on the back. Mistake. Those of us who couldn't wait 50, we might have come from Christmas Eve market in the 80s and 90s. Brown security, wagwan. And when you see that truck or the bus or the van tap, every picking you have to run go. One pick up basket, and then you have bags and you have bag. I dare not to go and go do it. No. 30, how much? $1 million. Like we are fool. Do 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 do. How must I find a place to live in this jungle created by mankind? In this jungle created by mankind. Senior criminal advisor and strategist in the Ministry of Tourism, Delon Seabright, has disclosed that the official tourist arrival number as of the first week of May are headed to the correspondent period for 2023. Let's stop there. Bear in mind, Dr. Good for Nothing, Bartlett. Now, that's narrative in. Narrative in. You remember the other day, Adam and one I'm white friend, but the white friend was the mouthpiece. Carlos, you remember the name and I remember it. Adam and one I'm white friend, the mouthpiece who Adam sent up, really chopped and changed the Minister of Tourism, James, and his scandal about the travel advisory not affecting the tourist industry. The information put out by those two men were a pushback on the government narrative that this is not so. As well, tied into the water crisis in Western Jamaica. The senior criminal advisor and strategist in the Ministry of Education is now narrativing you down the road to say, no, not quite what they are talking about. Because when we look at the numbers from the start of the year, last year, to the first week of May, the same numbers we had then, we're having the same corresponding number now. So no, there isn't anything, not even that travel advisory, that is causing a problem to our tourism influx and income, is what the criminal advisor and strategist in the Ministry of Tourism is telling you. Listen to me, my people. You can ask a jackass, and when I say a jackass here, I'm not talking about a figurative jackass. I'm talking about a literal jackass that you see lay down and roll and say, the world no level. That's the jackass I'm talking about. You can literally use a jackass to run the Ministry of Tourism. Why? Because Jamaica is inherently a tourist destination. You don't need a Minister of Tourism to do anything for people to want to visit Jamaica. Nobody at the Ministry of Tourism does good because they're good. Tourism in Jamaica is just good because of the landscape, the vibe, the culture, and everything that comes with Jamaica and its people. It's nothing to do, or tourism as a flourishing base of our economy has nothing at all to do with government policy or intervention. If it so do, there is a thing within the professional structure, Jackie Rockwood, that you refer to as transferable skills. If it is that whoever run the tourism department was so good in governance, then we could transfer some of those skills to other failing departments. Literally, you can use a literal jackass. The one they want to say carry hamper. The one they want to say lay down pan dot and roll. You can literally use a literal jackass, not a figurative jackass. You can use a literal jackass to run the Ministry of Tourism. Literally. And look at it. You can. You don't need nothing. The country, the people, the vibe, the food, the land space, the natural resources, the natural rivers and streams and spring. Those are Jamaica tourism policies, not anything put in place by any of our government, JLP or PMP. So what? Why alone at tourism then alone? They can good in whichever side of the kind them come from. Big thief JLP or liquor thief PMP. You can use a literal jackass to run the Ministry of Tourism. The policy that makes tourism thrive is Jamaica land, Jamaica people, Jamaica food, Jamaica culture, Jamaica natural resources, Jamaica beautiful springs, rivers, streams, falls, beaches. Those are our tourism policy. So no. Chance in it. Now go sit down both here and take credit for them. Why not can't transfer those skills into Ministry of Education, transfer them into Ministry of Health, or in Dr. Gunslinger Ministry, Darth God. Jamaica has recorded a 1.7 million tourist arrival in the first, up to the first week of May, with just over 1 million stopover arrival and over 700,000 cruise passengers. So Steve Wright is saying to you, don't listen to Adam them. Adam them just turn PMP overnight and attack set from the government. But the ministry is doing rather so fine that nothing what the US said is going to stop people from coming into the country, which is a stark contradiction to what those in the industry is saying. But there you go, it's the Labour government. Finance Minister Dr. with the ring says economic resilience has got to be the key economic priority for the Caribbean countries. This, he said, is especially true given the open economies and narrow economic base of small island developing states like Jamaica, which continue to face challenging ranging from economic vulnerability to climate change. Poor climate change. One time we used to sorry for Satan because if you walk down the road and you buck your toe, Noreen Dennison, them ball out say the devil, eagle eye. People will go deliberately go commit them sin or them wrongdoing, and then when you listen, them shout out, the devil, Paul Bogle. So I'm a person who always sorry for the poor devil, because all when the man tired and old and can't move under the tree when they don't and lean up and everything people do are the devil causing. No, everything a climate change. May I get sorry for climate change just like I'm used to sorry for the devil? Because everything now a climate change do it. But Nigel, me and you will buck later. I go be at Dangar Road now, Sundar Road, middle Birmingham. Me plan to go to the road today. Thank you all for being here this morning. Copyright! Thank you all for being here this morning. Join us back for the people's point of view tonight. May I go to the road and tell Nigel, say, let us compare and contrast, because in economy so good, 1 minute is the best economy in the Caribbean, is the best recovered economy since COVID, Sonia Michael, and all of a sudden, Nigel Clark about tell we say Jamaica economy vulnerable to climate change. When since Jamaica economy never vulnerable to earthquake, hurricane, storm, and then something there. You see, because we are fool, modern day fool. We're not the first time fool them, you know. We're the new type of fool. Pauline Robbins. We're the new type of fool, so they can just get up and tell we the things them so, and we have to believe them, accept them, and know so them come out. Dr. Mouth, Dr. This Mouth, and Dr. That Mouth, Marie Messenger TV, how are you? So when it come out of a Dr. Mouth, then a doctorism. A Friday, me in the West Midlands, me I go to the road. Tell Nigel, meet with occasion corner later on this evening. Because what them want we to do, you know, what them want we to do is get up and walk and tell the lie them what them a tell. We don't tell second hand lie, Joe. If we are going to tell lie, any lie we are tell a brand new lie where we are take down off a top shelf. Colin Richards. We not take up no feel up, taste and buy lie. Nigel, where everybody take up, feel up and taste and buy. If we tell lie, we're stretch up a top shelf. If we have to climb up on top shelf to get feel lie from top shelves. But we now go tell on a feel up, taste and buy lie, Nigel. On a act in a market lie. Look at you. Anyway, thank you all for being here this morning. Join us back tonight. I'm not even know because I tell my big friend them say tonight me go. I feel since January, I hope a time I come to Birmingham, Mary, and I don't go nowhere. Me I go tonight. Me I go tonight. That me I want to know. Anyway, even if me I go tonight, we can do a short show. Okay, if me I go, me nah go before midnight 30. So on. Anyway, we will see how we go later. Have a wonderful day, my people. And if you can't be good, be careful. And don't go there and put on a nice, pretty face and make people abuse them because they want to show people so nice in public. If you have to verbally elbow somebody and say, come on for me, war, hit too, please do. Thank you very much for being on the At a Glance program this morning. Join us back this evening on The People's Point of View. Good morning, good afternoon.